Breaking: FBI just confirmed what happened to Andrew McCabe text messages. The American people have been waiting for months now to see the end of the special counsel that the Democrats demanded to look into the Trump campaign. The results will tell whether this really was all a witch hunt on the part of some sore losers. Everyone thinks they know how this investigation will end, but so far the dirt that has been found has pretty much all pointed to the people who called for the investigation. It kind of makes sense that the DNC would assume that the Trump campaign would employ the very same tactics that they use, but apparently, when their bluff was called, they were found with the cards up their sleeves. Now that the investigations are underway, it come to light that the FBI brass is riddled with unethical partisanship that must be further investigated. Since the Trump campaign is being investigated by the FBI, and the FBI was suspected of being a biased organization, Congress had to step in and investigate the investigators. However, the FBI used some of its bag of tricks to keep some of the more incriminating information, in the form of communications between a higher-up in the Bureau and a company attorney, from the congressional probe. Now that those communications have come to light, it turns out that they were even dirtier than many originally suspected. The Gateway pundit reports that lawmakers and journalists alike are shocked and amazed that this level of partisanship was allowed to continue in what is supposed to be an impartial investigatory group. The world premier intelligence agency just lost another batch of text messages. Does anyone believe this? Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton joined Judge Jeanine Pirro on her FOX News program Saturday night. Tom Fitton told Judge Jeanine how difficult it was dealing with the Jeff Sessions Justice Department. Then Tom Fitton dropped this bomb: the FBI will not turn over Deputy Director Andrew McCabe text messages. Andrew McCabe was famously mentioned in a Peter Strzok-Lisa Page text message discussing insurance policy against a Donald Trump presidency. Now, the FBI told Judicial Watch they can find McCabe text messages. Tom Fitton: we sued back in September for the text messages of the number 2 at the FBI, Andrew McCabe, and they just told us this week they gave us everything they going to give us, and not one text message was turned over. They lost all of Andrew McCabe text messages. I don't believe it. There's still gamesmanship going on. The question now becomes, what does this mean for those on Capitol Hill? If this is deemed to be proof positive that the FBI helped the DNC or anyone else spy on the president, or that they helped the Hillary campaign in some other way, will that finally be enough for some people to be put behind bars for what they been promising to put the Trump campaign members behind bars for if they were guilty of? We have the unique situation of these particular offenses being already judged by the very people who it looks like have committed them. The Washington Examiner gives more details about the history of this still evolving case. The evident FBI bias, Republican lawmakers argue, could extend into the investigation by special counsel Robert Mueller, who is examining whether the Trump presidential campaign colluded with Russia. The more text messages that come out, the more biases you see, Sen. James Lankford, R. Oakland, told the Washington Examiner. But Lankford is not among those calling for a new special counsel, a situation that escalated last week when the FBI initially reported it could not find 5 months of messages sent between FBI agents Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, who both served on Mueller investigation team until their affair was discovered. That 5-month stretch of missing text messages included President Trump inauguration, the firings of FBI Director James Comey and National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, and the appointment of Mueller. Been asking for the remaining text messages between anti-Trump FBI agents and former Mueller team members Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. The FBI now says the texts are missing. Rep. Mark Meadows, RNC, who heads the conservative House Freedom Caucus, tweeted, "FAWASN already clear we need a second special counsel, it abundantly clear now." Lankford said rather than appoint another special counsel, he would entrust the Department of Justice to do an internal probe using their own Inspector General and leadership team. Across the Capitol, Sen. Ron Johnson, RWIS, who heads the Government Oversight Panel, also called for a second special counsel. Johnson, in the January 20 letter to FBI Director Christopher Wray, revealed exchanges between Strzok and Page during the Clinton email probe that suggest they were working to shield her from a criminal charge. In the exchange, the two discussed the pressure to finish the Clinton probe when it became clear Trump would become the GOP nominee. The two also discussed changing the draft of then FBI Director Comey's speech exonerating Clinton, the apparent Democratic nominee for president, to hide the fact that while serving as the nation's top diplomat, she emailed then-President Barack Obama from her personal account while in a country considered an adversary to the U.S. Strzok, in another exchange, expressed doubt in the current probe into Trump-Russia collusion, telling Page, "Here no big they're there." Johnson demanded the FBI search for the missing texts. Late last week, Department of Justice Inspector General Michael Horowitz told the Senate the missing text had been located. Sen. Chuck Schumer, the Democratic leader, ridiculed Johnson in a floor speech over Johnson's disclosure that Strzok referenced an FBI secret society that allegedly met after Trump election. Johnson later acknowledged the reference may have been a joke between the lovers. Republican members of this body, I am ashamed to say, have picked up on casual texts sent between FBI agents to peddle the nonsense that there is a secret society at the Department of Justice, without a shred of evidence, Schumer said Thursday. Had begun as an attempt to discredit the investigator has now devolved into delusional, self-serving paranoia. But high-ranking lawmakers disagree with Schumer. Sen. Chuck Grassley, of Iowa, who is chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, has been calling for a second special counsel for months. Grassley wants the probe to focus on Hillary Clinton's involvement in the sale of a uranium mining company to a Russian-owned firm in exchange for donations to the Clinton Foundation. The DOJ announced last year it would launch its own investigation into the sale, but Grassley believes a second special counsel is needed, and he backed the call by lawmakers last week to appoint one. Think their reason is just as good, Grassley told the Washington Examiner. Even though I am not part of their asking for it, I surely would support their effort.